What's going on, Horror Gang? Welcome to our Shot 'em 6 times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host, Marcus. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. As well as hit that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about whether or not this new Scream trilogy is more of an anthology series for the original OG3 characters. But before I do that, let's hit that intro. I shot him 6 times. All right, gang, so let's get into it. So I was sitting here thinking here lately about Scream 5 and about the OG3 characters, and a lot of the takeaway from these characters in Scream 5. Obviously, Dewey's death scene was, the biggest thing. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of fans was not okay with that. Some fans, already kind of understood it had to happen, but still, obviously wasn't on board with it. As well as the runtime for each character. There wasn't a lot of, runtime for these characters. Dewey got the most runtime out of all of them between him, Gale, and Cindy. And a lot of people were clamoring for, obviously, more of the OG3. But then it got me thinking, what if this was done on purpose by Radio Silence and Spyglass? What if this whole new trilogy for Scream, for the OG3 characters, we're not going to talk about the new characters at all, for the OG3 characters, what if this new trilogy is more like an anthology series for these characters? Think about it. Dewey was more of the focal point out of all three OG3 characters in Scream 5. He was more the focal point. He was introduced first. He was the one who made the call to Cindy, which introduced Cindy, obviously, in this movie. But after that, really, Cindy didn't get much runtime. As we know, the most runtime she got was in the hospital scene and obviously the ending scene leading up, to the final act. Gale didn't have much runtime either. Out of all three of them, Dewey was the one who got more runtime. And in terms of story purposes, it seems like Dewey's story was put more on Front Street than obviously Gale and Cindy's in this movie. Obviously, we didn't get a lot of backstory, but we got the backstory that why him and Gale didn't work out. Obviously, she moved to New York. He moved with her, but he couldn't take the big city life, which is why he left and came back to Woodsboro. And basically, ever since, he's become a drunken mess. He's not the same. He's going through it, etc. So, my takeaway from Scream 5 when it came to the OG3 characters is that this movie was more centered around Dewey. Now, with Scream 6 being announced, Gale Weathers, Courtney Cox, it seems to me is going to be a very big focal point in this movie. Which allows me to believe that if there is going to be a trilogy, which I'm all but certain there is, will it be the same for Cindy Prescott, Neve Campbell? Now, I have some reservations whether she's even going to be in the next one, Neve Campbell. Even if she is, I don't think she'll play a big role in this next movie. I think this movie will be more centered around Gale Weathers' character, much like Scream 5 was for Dewey Riley. And then in the 7th one, we'll go back to Cindy, and whatever backstory in her character that we may have not known about or we may have missed, then that will be brought into the light. I really was sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, man, that would explain for why in Scream 5 all three characters really didn't get much runtime, but also why Dewey Riley was kind of the main focal point. As well as, could they be leading up to killing off the OG3 entirely? Now, I don't believe Cindy Prescott will ever be killed. I hope that would never happen, especially in the 7th one. I think that's just not and shouldn't happen. And even Neve Campbell has said that, Cindy can't die, etc. But I do think that on paper, it's kind of entertaining, the idea. Because if Gale Weathers dies in Scream 6, you kind of almost have to put the idea in your head that if Scream 7 is going to have more Cindy Prescott and more of her story. If her story isn't over, you kind of put the idea in, it kind of puts the idea in your head, holy shit, are they going to pull the trigger and do something that we never thought could happen and kill Cindy Prescott's character? Now, like I said, guys, I don't think that would be the right decision, and I don't think that that would happen, but I'm not against them putting that idea in our head. And I genuinely do think that if you really look at it from that perspective of why these characters didn't have much runtime in Scream 5 and why Dewey was more of the focal point, it makes perfect sense, especially with Gail coming back and it seems like she's going to have a big role. It makes perfect sense for these characters that this new Scream trilogy is more of an anthology series for these characters, and that basically in each movie we're going to get some type of backdrop into each character and possibly put the idea in our head that they're going to get killed off. I do think it's a very high chance that Gail Weathers could meet her demise in this next movie. Like I said, I don't think they'll ever do it to Cindy, but I'm not opposed to the idea of them putting that in our heads. You know, you have to do something different. And like I said, I was just sitting here thinking like, man, you know, Scream 5 was, you know, out of the OG3 characters, was centered around Dewey. It was centered around, you know, like I said, the whole backdrop between him and Gail, where he's at now in life, you know, the fact that he's always willing to help people even when he knows he shouldn't, etc. Like Scream 5, in terms of the OG3 characters, was more about Dewey Riley's story arc and meeting his demise. I kind of feel like with Gail Weathers returning for Scream 6, and it seems like she's going to have a significant role, they're following in that same pattern, and I can't help but think that if that is the case, in Scream 7, that's when we will really get more Cindy Prescott and get more of a backdrop into her character and maybe get some more secrets about her character to come out to the light that we didn't know in the original Scream trilogy, etc. But that's my take, you guys. Hit the comment section. I want to hear from you. Do you agree with this theory that this new Scream trilogy is more like an anthology series for the OG3 characters, and that in Scream 6 or 7, that they will follow the same formula for Gail Weathers and Cindy Prescott that they did with Dewey Riley's character in Scream 5? Hit the comment section. I want to hear from you. But alright, gang, that's it for this video. Once again, this is I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. I'm your host, Marcus. Please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that notification icon for all latest content updates to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. As well, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you for watching.